Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Christine Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm Christine Courtney and excited to have back in the studio today Greg Shamie and Tom Armstrong. Hi, guys.
Hey.
We are here live with more construction again this week. So
New York City.
We are trying to filter it out for you, but hopefully our sound will come through clear as day. And certainly the challenges that I'm going to put forward to these guys to handle will give us some interesting things to talk about at least. The way it's going to work is I'm going to give a scenario, like a little paragraph, and Greg, I'll throw it to you first, see how you might handle this as a manager, and then Tom, you can tell Greg he's an idiot or tell that would never happen.
Very leadership.
No, very. Tom would never do that. Or you can add on to what he has to say.
No one ever gave me permission before, though, so.
I would love for that to happen one time. I would love to have an all-out brawl in here.
It'll have to be authentic, but we'll see what happens.
Or you can add on, or, who knows? So, and we'll see how it goes. These guys have not heard these before. These are brand new for them. So I'm throwing it to them to kind of, just because in management and leadership, we constantly have things like this thrown at us and we have to figure out how to react in the moment. So these are good practice scenarios for all of us to think about. All right, here we go. This one, Greg, is called The Manager Who Isn't Managing. So you, as a director at your company, have a manager who works for you who is smart, well-liked, and keeps things running smoothly, but their team is struggling. Feedback shows their people feel confused, undercoached, and left to figure things out alone. There's no crisis, but the team clearly isn't thriving. So how would you support this manager to step up into their leadership, so to speak, without taking it over? What would you do in this situation?
Well, it's a great one. I definitely have a trigger to leaders who stay out of the dirt.
What do you mean?
I mean, you got to get dirty.
Code.
You got
idiot, Greg. What kind of
You got to get. I'm saying, as a leader, you got. Are we cutting?
No,
we're not cutting.
This is definitely not getting edited out.
No, this is very important. Okay, so what do I mean? The leader who sits in their office and doesn't get onto the field and play with the players. I believe a really effective leader needs to have played all the positions and understand all the different elements that each position needs to be working on and accomplishing. And that once I have done that, then I can actually intentionally step out of my office and get into the work with my players and see what they're doing, be able to coach what I'm seeing, validate what's working, really highlighting those positive things, catching them doing great things, and also seeing what's being dropped. And so, I mean, I come across a lot of folks who a lot of times just do it from behind the curtain. And I think you got to be on the stage. I think you got to be in there.
So what would you do if you had somebody who worked for you that things were running good, but people were kind of confused, undercoached, left to figure things out alone? What would you do to coach that person that's doing that?
Well, I'd have to definitely start communicating about it, what's happening, what's going on with them, where is the confusion, and let's bring clarity to that and look at it. And if I don't have the expertise to do it, I would have, the means to bring in people and connect them with people who do. I don't necessarily have to be able to do all the different jobs, but I have to understand what the jobs entail, and I have to be able to coordinate support for my players so that they feel like if there is confusion, they can get clarity. And they can be shown how to do something effectively. They can get the support they need.
What do you think, Tom?
Well, first thing I'm thinking is I'm asking myself, does this manager know their own goals? So I'm going to sit down and have a meeting with them where we just outline so that they know my goals. I want the manager to know my goals as their boss. And I want to make sure the manager knows their goals and that the goals are not vague. So I want to make sure that they have clarity on their goals, that they're SMART goals, because I think then they can also translate that to their team. It sounds from what you're describing like the team probably doesn't understand fully what the requirements are of whatever it is that they're producing or doing. they might have general, but not real specific. And so it's hard to know what I'm going to do this week if I don't understand what my 3-month goal is or what my 6-month goal is. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is just sit down and make sure that there's clarity on that and just ask my manager, what are your priorities? What are your goals? And because those are different things sometimes. And then do the same kind of analysis with their team. I might ask, you have to be careful when you're skipping, meaning I'm going over the manager and talking to their team directly, but I might just ask them, hey, what are your goals? And see if they can just outline them, tell me specifically what they are. And if there's confusion around that, then of course we need to set that up. And it's incredibly common and unfortunate, but it's just when people are so caught up in the day-to-day work and the tasks that they have every day, especially the managers, that they don't realize that their own team doesn't have clarity on the bigger picture goals that they're supposed to be achieving. And are they measurable? And, is there a time frame in which they're supposed to do them? So once that's established, a lot of it will probably work itself out because you have, as you said, a pretty effective manager, well-liked, all that stuff, just not getting the outcomes. And so that, I think, if there's a time frame and clarity around the requirements of whatever it is that they're doing, right, that'll really help. And what you're describing is often a symptom of that not being in place.
Yeah. And I think what's hard about this is that people who are well-liked are hard sometimes to give feedback to, critical feedback to, because in a way you think, oh, they're a good manager. People like them. I like working with them. They're easy to get along with. And you forget, like, oh, wait, I'm not seeing, because they have such a good attitude sometimes that you give them a lot of slack without realizing it, unless you're really clear.
Completely. I agree. And I think people forget sometimes. I've seen this happen a lot once the relationships are built. And sometimes I have to remind my people on, not necessarily my direct reports now, but it is a conversation I've had where it's like your relationships are very important. They're there to serve the results. Like it's hard to put this because it sounds very cold, but I'm hired to achieve results for the team. That's why I have the salary. I'm earning income in order to achieve results. Relationships are my means to get there. And sometimes people also just feel like, well, I have strong relationships and I know that's important, but that's now the means to itself. So you don't want to ask too much of your team because you feel like it's going to challenge your relationship. And it's like, yeah, there's a balance there, but your relationship is also ultimately so that as a team we can function well in order to achieve whatever result it is that we're trying to achieve. So that can also be kind of a problem, is that people start to feel like, well, I'm just good at building relationships, so I'm good. No, it's not enough.
That's not enough.
No, it has to be duo dynamic of task initiation and relationship building. You have to be able to accomplish tasks. Again, coming back to the person who's confused or doesn't know it, it's not because they don't want to do a good job that they're failing. It's because they don't know how to do it, right? So back to my point, you want to help that person achieve what they need to achieve in their role. And as the manager, I have to know what that is, and I have to be able to get them the support.
Yeah, and I think the first thing to look at is yourself. So I bet you that if I was their boss, then my meetings that they're in, like my team meetings with whether if I have 2-3 managers that work for me, I bet you that I'm not also being as clear as possible, because people tend to then form their meetings based on what goals and objectives we have, and then saying to them, what are the goals and objectives your teams have, and can you report out on them? Because then they're going to start passing that down. But if I'm not modeling that, that's not happening. I mean, I can relate to this. I think this was me in my beginning of my career. I know it was, because luckily I had team members that came and told me this. You don't always get that. Because I had good enough relationships, they came to me and said, you're not leading. We don't know where we're headed. We're all going in different directions. We need this. It was horrifying, but incredibly important for me at the time. And I had no modeling of that from above. So I had to figure that out. But I think that's fair that people aren't born with this stuff necessarily. I think you're right. It's either you're going to lean on the results side of things, or you're going to lean on the relationship side based on who you are. And you kind of have to, the management key is figuring out how to have both of those things pretty strong and dance with both parts of that person.
That story is a great story about you. It makes me think of, you had high performers on your team. You knew everybody was really good, but they needed you as their leader to give them clarity on what to go after.
Yeah,
You couldn't just say, "Oh, you're fantastic, go."
yeah. You don't need to be. And in my head, it was like I was a new kind of fun manager.
Yeah.
You don't need to be micromanaged. I trust you.
Right.
You could do whatever. But that's not how they took it. They took it as they were uncoached, just like this, uncoached, unclear, no future forward thinking, no vision.
So you had to get dirty. You had to get in there and
Okay.
mess it all up and get
Not
it
a-
on the table. Get it on the table. I'm not kidding. It's real. Like a player, a coach who gets into the game and really gets involved is going to do so much better than just staying back and letting their people do their thing.
It is also uncomfortable, like I think to your point, right? Like it's a painful process sometimes, and you have to be brave enough to engage with that as the leader, and also as the person being led, brave enough to engage in it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like you have your pattern, you're doing your thing, and now the leader's asking me to change.
All right, I got another one for you. You ready? Okay, here we go. Tom, this is going to go to you first, and then Greg. Okay, this is called managing up the absent executive. Okay, so in this scenario, Tom, your direct boss is a C-level leader who is constantly pulled in a million directions. They're smart and supportive, but barely available. You need their sign-off on a key decision to move your project forward, and they've already canceled 2 check-ins this month. You're starting to feel blocked and your team is waiting on you. So we get these types of managing up questions all the time. So I throw this to you because this one folks are constantly having to deal with. It's just tricky.
Yeah, it's hard. And it also depends on
Who the person is.
who the person is. But you said, it sounds like you're saying that amenable, just overwhelmed. Like they're approachable when they're around. Like if you could get a second with them.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
They're not a jerk.
But I'm assuming.
Right?
I'm assuming that.
You're assuming they're not a jerk. So, yeah, hard. First thing that comes to mind is, they probably have decision fatigue. They're counting on you to make decisions. Come to them with the problem and the decision in advance, ready to go. Can you get it done in 5 minutes? Sometimes if you say, like, I only need 5 minutes of your time, and have it ready so that you can leave in 5 minutes, so they trust that when you say 5 minutes, you mean it. But also, they're probably going to give you 15 ultimately, but don't count on it. But if the problem and the solution are there and you can present it in that 5, they might give you an additional 10 just to get problem solve whatever might need to be done. But if you can say, like, I have a situation and a solution, I just want to talk to you about it, get your check on it. Approach them with that, and then, hopefully they'll be able to say yes. Have your business case be super clear. It has to be good for the company. It has to be a reason for it, whatever it is that you're bringing to them. But I would say, as brief as you can come to them with solutions, they're going to really like that. Don't come to them thinking, well, they're the decision maker, so they want a bunch of decisions to make. They actually want to just be able to say yes or no and then move on and say, wow, I'm so glad that this person, I can count on them to solve problems because I can't solve any more than I'm dealing with right now. So that's really what they're looking for. If you know their goals, that's helpful. So you might just check in. Also make sure that you don't have to ask them directly, but somehow figure out what their goals are and that you're aligned with what their goals are in advance, and it doesn't take a long conversation. And
right.
Avoid giving them decisions because that will then just stall it.
Great.
Yeah,
Greg,
no,
anything
it's right on. I wrote down this idea of what is their preference in terms of communication style because they're so busy. And so coming back to clarity and brevity, those are 2 key aspects of how I'm going to communicate with that boss, with that manager. And so being really clear, really brief, and knowing their preference of communication. So I'm going to send them a text and I'm going to get an answer. I'm going to be as clear as possible to get a quick answer from them. Yes, no, let's get on a quick talk, right? If they say that. But again, I'm trying to make it as easy and clear for them as possible.
Great. Yeah, I think those are good. I think that's fantastic. I don't have anything else to add. I mean, I can kind of relate to this person who's slowing things down. So it's good for me to hear your takes on it. And I think people that definitely come with solutions is helpful. And because most of the time people that are slowing things down are because they have a million competing priorities, and this is not one of their top priorities at the moment. And you being able to say, though, if I get an answer from you on this, it helps me not slow things down the line, is helpful for people to know sometimes that decision is, or that sign off is holding up other things. Sometimes I've had luck pushing people that way that when I've dealt with them. So All right, guys. Thanks. Those were some quick answers to 2 big management problems. And thanks for joining us in the studio today. We'll be back next week with a couple more for you.
Thanks, Christine.
Thanks, Christine.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.